If you're a fan of the monolithic, three-sided tempered glass aesthetic of the Phanteks Evolv X2 PC case, you'll want to check out this new variant of the X2 that Phanteks has just recently released, the Evolv X2 Matrix. Available in black or white, the X2 Matrix is different from its predecessor in that it uses a fabric finishing for these areas in place of what used to be aluminium accents, and we do also get a 900 LED Matrix LED display that's hidden beneath the fabric finishing in these areas. Let's take a closer look at this case to see if it's any good. As can be seen, the Evolv X2 Matrix ships in a brown cardboard box with your usual product illustrations and descriptions on all sides. The case is very well protected within the box, with no shortage of foam dividers, cardboard corner protectors, as well as silicone protectors for the edges of the tempered glass panels. We get a cardboard box of accessories with the case too, and it comes taped to the back of the case where the expansion slots are. Within the cardboard box of accessories, we get instruction manuals, a RMA information leaflet, a microfiber cleaning cloth, which I do appreciate seeing as the Evolv X2 Matrix has 3 tempered glass panels. We do also get a DRGB adapter cable that's to be used to connect the Evolv X2 Matrix's built-in RGB LED accents to your board, or to compatible DRGB fans by Phanteks. We also get a bunch of cable ties as well as a plastic container of screws that also includes a tool that allows you to use a Phillips head screwdriver to install and remove motherboard standoffs with ease. In case you're wondering, the said standoffs already come pre-installed on the motherboard tray of the case. One thing that I really like about the manual is the fact that Phanteks has diagrams that illustrate quite clearly how best to do cable management with this case. It'll definitely save end users some time with figuring out which opening is best for which cable when building their PCs. With that, here it is, the Phanteks Evolv X2 Matrix. We've got the black version of the X2 Matrix for this review, and for those of you thinking of building a white colored PC, Phanteks also has a white variant of the Evolv X2 Matrix available as well. If you're familiar with the design of the original Evolv X2, the Matrix is pretty much exactly the same, save for the Matrix LED feature that I'll cover in a bit. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Evolv X2's design language, we get a unique aesthetic that's created by removing the front panel frame and having a tempered glass panel in its place instead. This results in a see-through chassis frame in the shape of the letter C, which, when coupled with tempered glass panels on both sides, we get a case that's perfect for showcase PC builds. Materials-wise, the case is made of a combination of aluminium, steel, plastic, as well as tempered glass panels, alongside some polyester fabric finishes for the interior of the case. It's worth mentioning that the fabric finishing is done up pretty nicely, and I don't see any creases of any sort. The power and reset buttons of the case are located on the top panel, and in terms of front panel connectivity, we get a 3.5mm headphone and microphone combo jack, 2 USB 3.0 Type A ports, as well as a USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type C port situated beneath the bottom edge of the left tempered glass side panel. Do note that the case does not come with a hard disk activity indicator light. Like the original Evolv X2, the Evolv X2 Matrix has L-shaped ventilation openings for a top-mounted radiator or fans, where these slats have been angled in a way to direct any hot exhaust air away from the end user. Phanteks has also included an illuminated RGB strip that runs along the long edge of the top panel and terminates where the reset and power buttons are. Over on the bottom of the case, we get plastic feet on all 4 corners of the case that terminate in a rectangular slab of plastic, which makes the Evolv X2 Matrix look as if it's standing on stilts. Such a design helps airflow along by creating space for the bottom intake fans to suck fresh air into the case. To that end, we get a removable filter for the bottom intake that slides in and out of place like so. Moving to the rear of the case, we catch a glimpse of some pre-installed Velcro cable ties that are visible from the rear. These cable ties are used to cable manage the cables running behind the motherboard tray. The expansion slot openings have covers that are reusable, and to install any expansion cards, you'll have to pop off this side cover that's accessible once the tempered glass side panel is removed, where it's held in place magnetically. Doing so then gives you access to the screws of the expansion slot covers. With that, let's get the panels off the Evolv X2 Matrix. First things first, you'll need to remove the top panel, which can be pried off easily from the chassis. This then reveals the single screws that each hold the side tempered glass panels in place. Removing the front panel involves the removal of two screws, with one screw located at the top, like so. The other screw is located near the bottom of the case, and to get access to the said screw, you have to first remove the plastic shroud that covers the bottom chamber drive mounting location of the Evolv X2 Matrix. With the screws undone, the front glass panel then slides out of place easily. One cool feature of the Evolv X2 Matrix is its use of a grey fabric material, at least with the black variant of this case, so as to add some visual interest. The star of the show's got to be the Matrix LED that's found beneath the fabric layer for this bottom section of the case. We'll run through the Matrix LED in depth later on in this review. With the vanilla Evolv X2, these surfaces have a brushed aluminium finish instead. On the rear of the removable top panel, we see that it comes with an integrated dust filter that unfortunately isn't removable, and Phanteks has also integrated the top panel ARGB LED accent into the top panel itself, where the electrical contacts to power the said ARGB LED accent are visible. While still on the topic of ARGB lighting, we do also get ARGB LED accents on the top and bottom sections of the case, as shown on the screen. We'll see these LEDs in action later on in this video. On a side note, if you're new to the AOK Tech channel, do consider subscribing so as to keep up to date with the latest releases in the PC hardware world. With that, let's talk about the cooling hardware support for the X2 Matrix. In case you're unaware, this case doesn't come shipped with any pre-installed fans at all. Over on the top panel of the case, we get support for up to 3 120mm case fans or a 360mm AIO radiator with the maximum supported dimensions on the screen. To make the installation of top-mounted cooling hardware really easy, we get a removable bracket that's held in place by a single thumb screw. And with the bracket removed, we see that there's some space here for your AIO radiator tubes to be concealed for a cleaner looking build. Over on the bottom panel, we get openings for up to 3 120mm case fans. Similar to the top panel, we get a removable bracket that's held in place by a single thumb screw. This certainly facilitates the installation of fans on the bottom panel. Finally, over on the rear, Phanteks has included a single opening that supports a 120mm case fan. In terms of physical dimensions, the Evolv X2 Matrix is a very hefty and large case with the dimensions that you can see on the screen. For you folks intending to use an air cooler for your processor, do note that the case supports CPU coolers of heights no more than 170mm according to the specs sheet for this case. It's worth noting that the Evolv X2 lineup was designed with AIO CPU cooler usage in mind, due to its airflow design that is very much reminiscent of a chimney stack. For your graphics card, the Evolv X2 Matrix comes with support for graphics cards with lengths of up to 380mm and widths of up to 170mm. We also get a graphics card support bracket that can be adjusted for height. In terms of motherboard support, this case comes with support for motherboards with rear connectors, so ATX motherboards from say ASUS's BTF lineup, Gigabyte's Stealth series, or MSI's Project Zero lineup should be compatible with this case. The back of the motherboard tray is obscured by a metal panel on hinges, where this said panel can be removed from the case very easily, like so. With the panel out of the way, we get full access to the bottom chamber of the case, which houses the power supply unit. In case you're wondering, the Evolv X2 Matrix has 250mm of depth clearance for a PSU. For you folks intending to install 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch drives for your PC build, the Evolv X2 Matrix comes with a removable bracket on the back of the motherboard tray that's held in place by a thumb screw. This bracket comes with support for up to 3 2.5-inch SSDs. Over in the bottom compartment of the case that houses the power supply unit, we get a removable drive cage that's held in place by a single thumb screw. We get a number of permutations of drives that's supported by this drive cage, as shown by this illustration on the screen that's taken from the Evolv X2 Matrix's manual. The front panel connectors of the case are pretty standard, where we get a front panel USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type-C connector, a front panel USB 3.0 Type-A connector like so, a front panel audio connector, as well as a 9-pin front panel connector for the power switch and reset switch. For the front panel connector, I appreciate the fact that Phanteks has gone with a 9-pin connector rather than dual 2-pin standalone connectors, which can be more fiddly to hook up to your motherboard. A nice quality of life feature to have for sure. Moving on, we also get male and female 3-pin DRGB connectors for the ARGB LED accents of the case, which can either be daisy-chained to compatible Phanteks case fans or to your motherboard's ARGB header via the included adapter cable. Finally, the Matrix LED feature of the case requires you to hook up a USB 2.0 connector to your motherboard's onboard header, and power for the Matrix LEDs is drawn via a SATA power connector like so. With that, let's do up a demo build with the Evolv X2 Matrix. Getting the motherboard into the case was pretty easy, where the motherboard standoffs come pre-installed on the motherboard tray. The PSU installation process was as smooth as it gets, where we've got lots of space to maneuver a PSU into the bottom chamber of the Evolv X2 Matrix and run the respective PSU cables to where they need to go. CPU cooling wise, I'll be using a Phanteks Glacier 1 360 M25G2 360mm AIO CPU cooler, where getting the radiator mounted on the top panel involves sandwiching the top panel in between the AIO radiator and the cooling fans. In this regard, having a removable bracket certainly helps the installation process along for sure. Over on the bottom panel, I'll be installing a 3-pack of reverse blade Phanteks M25 120 G2 120mm case fans. Again, installing the fans on the bottom panel was pretty easy, all thanks to the removable mounting bracket. For the demo build, I managed to install one of the largest flagship graphics cards around, a Gigabyte Aorus GeForce RTX 4090 Master 24G, where this very card measures in at a whopping 358.5mm by 162.8mm by 75.1mm. Seeing as this is a very tall card, I wasn't able to run the 12V high power cable from the bottom of the motherboard tray to the graphics card, as the power connector would get in the way of the tempered glass side panel. Instead, I've run the cable from the top to the bottom, and this works and looks great too. With the demo build nearly completed, let's talk about cable management. I appreciate the fact that Phanteks has provided Velcro straps that are located in strategic positions to help guide your cables to where they need to go. In addition, we also get these rubber grommets located along the side of the motherboard tray, which definitely helps with ensuring a clean looking aesthetic. The good thing about the Evolv X2 Matrix is that it has a large metal cover that totally obscures the area behind the motherboard tray where you'd run your cables, which is important seeing as we've got tempered glass panels on both sides and you'd want as clean and aesthetic as possible by hiding the cables at the back of the motherboard tray entirely. All in all, the demo build with this case is shaping up really nicely. And with that, here's a completed demo build with the Phanteks Evolv X2 Matrix. Right, so as can be seen, the lighting effects of the Matrix LED look really good. The colors are vibrant, and the whole effect of not being able to see the Matrix LEDs behind the fabric finish until you've switched on the PC is really cool in my opinion. Let's spend some time to talk about the software control for the Matrix LED feature. To customize what appears on the LED panel, you'll need to download and install the Phanteks NixLink app, and under the Screen Control tab right here, we get a preview card that mocks up how the display will look like with your customizations, as well as a layout library on the right that consists of 12 preset layouts. The Matrix LED panel is divided into 3 distinct sections for widgets, like so, with this part here corresponding to the front of the case and these 2 widgets corresponding to the side of the case. Within each of these 3 sections, you can further divide them into 2 layers each, like so, which then gives you up to 6 widgets in total on the whole panel. Once you've selected a layout of choice, for instance say this layout that gives you 2 small sections for widgets and 2 large widget sections, you can then select the section to customize via the preview card, like so. Select the widget of choice from the widget library and then thereafter customize the widget to your heart's content. Over here in the widget library, we get 4 types of widgets to choose from: time and date, system data, media, as well as creator. Within the time and date section, we get 4 types of time and date widgets to choose from, where you can customize stuff such as the color of the text and the background color of the said text. System data, on the other hand, allows you to display system stats pertaining to your CPU and GPU temperature, fan speeds, and so on. Under media, right here, we get 4 preset animations to choose from. And finally, under the creator section, we get the ability to customize text of your choice, like so. And if you'd like to create your own custom graphic, you can also do so via this editor function that allows you to exercise your creativity. Now, to put the Matrix LED through its paces, let's create something with this layout that I've selected. I'll swap out the fan widget for, say, a CPU temperature widget, and place a CPU fan speed widget right beneath it. I'm not exactly a fan of this neon green color, so I'll go right ahead to change the font color to, say, a lighter shade of blue. For comic effect, let's go with a Nyan Cat aesthetic, a rainbow bar for this central panel right here. And to round things off, a walking cat animation for the front section. Okay, and we're done. Let's send it to screen and let's see how it looks. Moving on, in terms of thermal performance, I did a quick performance benchmark with the Evolv X2 Matrix's demo build, where you can see the specs of the said build on the screen. With F123's in-game benchmark, where I ran a 5-lap test for around 9 minutes in total, the Ryzen 5 7600 processor in the demo build achieved an average CPU temperature of around 60.3 degrees Celsius, while the Aorus GeForce RTX 4090 Master 24G by Gigabyte achieved an average GPU temperature of 66.7 degrees Celsius as well as an average GPU hotspot temperature of 76.4 degrees Celsius. These results were achieved in a non-air conditioned room with an ambient temperature of around 29.1 degrees Celsius. I'd say that these are a decent set of results on the whole, and you'll notice that I didn't install a rear exhaust fan too. That said, the Phanteks Glacier 1 AIO CPU cooler is pretty overkill for a Ryzen 5 7600, and the Aorus RTX 4090 Master 24G has a beast of a GPU cooler as well. The idle temperatures and estimated noise levels with the demo build are as per what you can see on the screen, and for the thermal tests, I left the fan curves on their stock settings without any tweaks. Naturally, your thermal performance with this case will vary, especially if you're going to be using different hardware from the demo build in this video. Right, so to sum up, I think that the Phanteks Evolv X2 Matrix reinforces its position as a PC case that's great for showcase builds. The original Evolv X2 in itself is already quite the breath of fresh air, given its monolithic, 3-sided tempered glass aesthetic and the floaty graphics card appearance that's created as a result. Throw in the Matrix LED display and you have a truly unique premium PC case offering in the market that's going to look great as part of a no-holds-barred showcase PC build. Like the original Evolv X2, fit and finish of the Evolv X2 Matrix is good too, and the PC building experience with this case was very smooth as well. Thermal performance wise, it should perform identically to the Evolv X2 non-Matrix, meaning to say, it's not going to be the best in terms of thermal performance when compared to, say, cases with a high airflow design. But hey, some things got to give for such an eye-catching design, I suppose. Also, I do think that the amount of customization that one can do for the Matrix LED via the NixLink app is still rather limited. Here's hoping that with future NixLink app updates, Phanteks will unlock more features, widgets, and customizations for owners of this case. In terms of pricing, the Evolv X2 Matrix has an MSRP of $199.99 US. For comparison's sake, the original Evolv X2 without the Matrix LED feature goes for a price of $129.99 US. In Singapore, the Evolv X2 Matrix will retail at a price of 315 Singapore dollars. With that, thank you so much for watching, hit the like button and get subscribed if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys around the next time.